Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to come to this session. The idea behind this is that it's not only once that we'll have one of these sessions. You'll see as I go through the program that we'll have a few sessions in terms of the basic things that regard your money. It's the one thing that sort of defines us. So I'm going to open up a question to the room. If I gave you 10,000 Rand now, what would you spend it on? We all say that money doesn't necessarily matter and whatever the case might be. But what I always tell people is what you spend your money on matters a lot, because it shows what your interests are and what you value. So like Kevin, he values gardens. Mariette wants to make more money, she wants to market. And Richelle wants to buy some clothes. It's the way that you spend your money that's important, and that's what we're going to discuss today. We're going to look at how you use the money that you get in, and how you can best get the best out of it, so that the things like a vacation, which is a dream that you might have, that you can achieve it, and that you're actually constantly working towards what your financial goals are. For those of you that don't know, I'm Jacques. I've been a financial planner for about 10 years, mostly focused on employee benefits, and in the last couple of years we've developed a program called Mind My Money. We did it in conjunction with Liberty, which is an insurer. I'm not affiliated to Liberty. You'll see some of the things are sponsored by them. It's just that they helped us develop the technological tools to run this program. And that if you complete all the sessions and you've registered for all of it, you'll get an NKF2 level certificate that says that I'm now in charge of my finances. So not that that's a reward, but at least you can show someone that I now know how to spend my money. The context of the program is the basics of finances, but you can always contact me for some more detail in respect to that. As promised, as part of what we'll be doing today is you'll be getting a free financial plan. I'll organize that it's sent on your communication groups. That's the link that you can write down. It's case sensitive. If you go to that link, it'll take you about 15 to 20 minutes, and it'll generate a financial plan that's adapted for you, that goes into the details. It does a budget for you. It does a net worth calculation for you. It does your life insurance needs, it does your capital disability needs, it does your income needs, it does everything for you. The idea with this plan is that you use it as the roadmap to what we're going to start discussing and start doing towards the next thing. It gives you a good yardstick where you are currently financially, and the best thing about it is, if you decide that you don't want to share it with anyone, it comes into your mailbox. It takes about 15 minutes to generate at the longest, and it comes into your mailbox. And if you don't want to discuss it ever with anyone, you keep that as your own personal information. And for those of you that have personal financial planners, it's a good way to test if the advice that they are giving you is in line with what it should be. You'll see it's branded as Liberty. Doesn't mean that it's got anything to do with Liberty. Your data doesn't get shared with Liberty. It sits within our database, completely anonymous. Not even myself can touch the information without you giving me the permission to look at it.
Welcome.
Okay, so that's the idea with the program. The last 3 blocks for you guys, you don't need to ever go to the website if you don't want to. The link that I've given you will take you through all the information. Your personal workbook is that report that you'll be getting back once you've completed it. Please complete it. The incentives, they will be as you attend more of the workshops, and if I get more attendees, the incentives will be something cool. You'll see the vacation might be something that might pop up, or a discount on a vacation might be something that pops up. So please continue interacting and continue giving us the feedback to continue with it. The different workshops that we'll be doing will be Me and My Budget, which will be the session that we'll be doing today, so I won't go into detail about that. The next session will be Me and My Income combined with Me and My Bank. A lot of people will say, you guys that are working for yourselves, mostly generating commission income, will think about your incomes only in one space. We'll be looking at strategies, how you can look at yourself as a whole person to increase the different ways that you can be generating additional income, and we'll look at those strategies, things that have worked a couple of times, and we'll be helping you how to make sure that the income that you do receive is used in the best way. Then me and my bank. You might think that you've been using a bank account for years and that you can't learn anything. We'll give you the secrets behind the trade, how you can push down your costs, how having multiple bank accounts is not beneficial, how the hidden costs that bank sort of charge is actually taking away from your budget. We just did a session where 30% of the workshop out of 100 people we're being charged over 12,000 Rand for bank fees a year if you take everything into account, and taking everything into account just for putting your money away and having the facilities to use and to lend money. And those are ways that we are going to help you. If you're telling me now, but I'm already not getting out, we're going to help you to generate that extra cash so you could start working towards what your financial freedom is. Debt, like a lot of you said, we'll be discussing debt strategies, what is good, what is bad debt, something that you'll also be able to advise your clients on so that they can buy the bigger houses that you make the bigger commissions on. So we're going into exactly how you can manage this and how you can look to getting your debt down. The next component that we'll be looking at is me and my savings. It's important to not keep money under a mattress. We'll be explaining why that's important, how that works, and how it can help you to start increasing your savings. Then we'll be going into me and my insurance. Mostly my clients think of me as the Grim Reaper because how I sell insurance, so I have to tell them about all the bad things that are going to happen to them. We're going to explain to you that it's not a grudge purchase. Insurance is an essential part of a financial plan, and it's an essential part of the things that you need. We'll show you real life examples of real life people that got destroyed financially by not looking at this component in a way that it's meant to be looked at and in a way that it should be managed. And then lastly, we'll be looking at the fun side of what I do, and it's me and my future. How investing a little bit of money can achieve big dreams, can achieve big things, and we'll be touching on that a little bit today. I would like you to meet Mary. Mary is my character for today. She'll be the person that if I use any example, I'll be referring to her. Mary is a single mother. She looks after her parents. She's got one child and she's putting herself through university. I want to say she's an estate agent, but it might feel too close to home, so I will say she's a teacher. And that's what she's trying to do. So she's struggling. So she's got a lot of things on her mind. Mary wants to buy that sports car. Anyone that can relate with that? It's a status symbol. Mary is wondering, but her financial planner is telling her that she also needs to save. Then she wants, like Rochelle, to buy some clothes. And then lastly, like a lot of you, she's in debt. So how does she juggle all of these balls? How does she get out with the needs she has with the things she wants? What is a budget? A budget is a plan that you use to look at all the components of your finances. So like I said, it's the roadmap. It's the way you get from where you are now to where you want to go. So I'm going to ask, as a little bit of a industrial theatre to our task, I'm going to ask the guys every time that I'm going back to the roadmap. So the important part is to get from here. So guys, you're on here. Can I hear the guys say here? Yeah. Okay, the ladies, I want you to say there. There. Okay, so the important part is to get from here. Yeah. Ladies? There. How do you do that? With your budget, your financial plan, the strategy that we're going to follow. I want to emphasize that a budget is not something that is only for the very rich or the very poor. It's for everyone. Everyone needs a budget. And like I said, the tool makes it easy. It's the starting point. It's 20 minutes out of your life that you can sit and complete a budget that can be used so that you know exactly what's going on. And you can get from here to there. Okay, so I've touched on why it's important to have a budget. It gives you the information that you need to know that how much debt you can take on. What can I spend money on? Where should my income be going? What different things are important in terms of what I need and what I want? So I'm going to ask a question. Does anyone in the room know what a want is and what a need is? So I'll start with the want. What's a want?
Nice things, nice clothes.
It's just something you desire.
Okay. A need? Exactly. So all of you are right. The important part as part of a budget is, and a lot of people confuse those two in terms of their budget. Best example I can give you is, sure, you need food. That's a need. It needs to be part of your budget. But eating out 3 times a week, that's a want. That's not a need. It's not something that's essential. It's something that you have to continuously look at. So that is the components that I want you to be honest with yourself about. Is whilst you're completing the plan, is ask yourself the questions, show us what you're really spending the money on, and afterwards go and think about what is a want and what is a need. So what is essential to you being able to have a good life, survive, and make sure that all your obligations are met. What can a budget do for you? So what do you think is the advantages of having a budget? It's good. It's lowering your stress because you have control. You know what's going on. It's not that the deductions are going off my account and I don't know where it's coming from or where it's going. So that's a good answer. Anyone else? Goals are very important. I mean, it's not always easy not going for the wants. So having a goal, having in mind what you're doing this for, to get from here, guys, to there, is important that you have those goals in mind, to understand that the sacrifices that you're making today will lead to you being able to go on vacation, spending the money on the things that you really want. I'll quickly run through a couple of the advantages as well. So then the next question that most people ask is my budget doesn't work. And these are some of the questions that I want you to run through whilst you're doing the budget, while you're completing the plan, why it's not working. Is your budget realistic? That's once again making the good differentiation between what is a want and a need. A lot of people get that extremely wrong, so make sure that you understand that in your context, yes, food is essential, but like I explained, eating out is not necessary. Driving a car might be for all of you guys that are using it to earn an income is important, but having the Mercedes-Benz or the BMW, that's not a need. So looking at those types of things are very important. Don't cut out all the fun. Like I said, remember that you're not doing this just to punish yourself. It's to achieve certain goals. I always tell my clients that are starting out with a budget, find your biggest dream. Stick it up right next to your budget when you're looking at this, and remember that's why you're doing it. Remind yourself every day that is why I'm making these cuts. If you want to start splurging money and you want that beautiful things, remember that you're sacrificing, and if you weigh those things up versus me going on vacation and buying that takeaway meal, what looks better? I think the vacation. And that's the way that you can really make a budget work for you. So don't just cut out the fun, remember why you're doing it and why it's important. Self-control. If you struggle with this, it's something to plan ahead. So the budget, the strategy, having that in mind, keeping the goals in mind, is something that you then have to reinforce every single time. Mary, she was standing in the shop, she was thinking about the car, she was thinking about the debt, she was thinking about everything. So don't go into a shop hungry is the best metaphor that I can use it. Don't go with an empty stomach and then purchase everything that you don't need. Go there with a strict plan and strategy in mind, and that starts with having your budget in mind when you go shopping, when you purchase things, when you sign up for that online account. I mean, today it's very easy. You can go log into a website at home, and then suddenly you've spent $1,000 without you even realizing what you've spent it on. Always remind yourself, I have to do that in context of my budget. So if you feel the urge to splurge, go back to your budget. Look if you can do what you're spending your money on. The next question is don't make your financial goals unattainable. Make it dreams that you every year reward yourself for going through the budget. Like I said, that vacation is a good idea, but be realistic. If you can't afford a vacation to America at the end of the year, then don't make that your goal. Make it a goal that I'm going to the coast. And keep it within your means. Keep it to something that you can achieve each and every day, and something that you can do each and every year. The next question is remove the anger. So if you've got a shared budget, so you're a joint household, have the discussion together and get both of you in line with this new strategy, with the new budget, with the new plan. Because it becomes very, very difficult to keep to a budget if you're the one that's being frugal and your partner is the one that is spending. So you get the buy-in from the people that share in your financial means. Have the discussion tonight. Make them complete the things that you've learned today. They're welcome to also complete the free financial plan and join you in this journey towards achieving your goals. And then set goals together as a family unit. Make sure that everyone in the household understands why you're doing this and how come it's very, very important. The paper trail. One of the other things that you should be looking at while you're building your budget and building your journey towards this financial freedom I'm alluding to is to keep a paper trail. A lot of people don't know what they're actually spending their money on. There's cash going out, but what is that cash being spent on? And you'll be very surprised if you keep the slips and you keep the things that you spend your money on and you start using that on a monthly basis, what it is that your money is going to. So, like I said at the beginning, if I give you 10,000 bucks today, if I take your slips, I'll have a very good idea of who you are and what's important to you. So, go and look at those things. Make sure that you understand that that's a reflection of where you want to go. So goals become attainable by keeping in mind what it is you want to achieve and being realistic about getting there. And if you're spending your money on luxury cars or cocktails at the local bar every week, you're not heading towards that goal of going for that holiday at the end of the year. You're spending that on short-term gratification and something that you could be saving money on. So go and look at that paper trail, keep your records. It's something that you should be keeping on your computer. It's easy these days to have all of those documents at hand to make sure that your budget is a true reflection of what you really spend your money on. I'm going to list some documents that you should be keeping. So keep the following documents for 1 to 3 months. It's your utility bills, sales receipts for minor purchases, the slips that I've just spoken about, ATM and bank deposit slips. A lot of people just throw away, they don't want the paper. But then there are gaps in what you're actually using your money on. So every single piece of paper that you spend your money on, you should keep. You can ask Nareen, that knows me quite well. I always keep every little thing that I spent money on, because when I started this process, I realized that I didn't know where my money was going. And having a reflection back on a month's worth of spending, I really quickly realized that I was spending money on things that I really don't need. So it's important. Keep those papers, keep it at hand, keep a little envelope at home and just drop it in, mark it for August, and keep all your slips and deposit slips, the things that I've just mentioned, in that little envelope. Then things you should be keeping for a year is your paychecks, your monthly mortgage statements, your insurance records, so your policies. That's something that needs to be reviewed yearly. Don't just say, okay, cool, I'm insured, my broker has looked at it. Go look at what is in your insurance policy. Go look at every line item. I mean, I sell insurance. I want my clients to tell me I'm paying too much. No one ever does, because no one ever looks at the policy. The 240-page document that the insurance company sends is just too much to read. But if you look at what stands in that document, you'll quickly find that it's not necessarily what your needs are. So look at those and keep those documents. Give yourself a time every year that you go through those types of things. Things that you should be keeping for 5 years. It's your bank statements. Did you know that SARS can back audit for 5 years? And we just had a case where a client calculated their VAT wrong. It's not necessary for all of you, but they calculated their VAT wrong, and it was R1 million over the 5 years period that he got back. Got back. Not lost, got back by keeping his documents. So it's something that you're protecting yourself from. There could be a reward, but it can also be something that if you get that audit from SARS, that you've got everything at hand and there's nothing to hide. And mostly if you do it this way, you'll be getting money back. Receipts for tax purposes, disability records, unemployment income, so if you've got UIF payments, and then your medical bills and claims. I've got a lot of people that are on medical aid, and then when they get to the end of the year, they've not included all the additional things that was not in their medical savings in their tax rebates. It's an important thing to keep. It's an important thing. The quick panado that you buy at the 24-hour pharmacy, keep it. It's something that will keep a record of why it's important, that you can get money back from the revenue service. Then something that you never throw away is your annual tax returns, your mortgages, your year-end statements, your legal documents, your home improvement documentation. Once again, tax purposes. If you do that right, it's something that you can make your income a little bit better. Receipts for major purchases. If you buy something like a fridge, there's most likely a guarantee, there's a warranty on it. You never know how important that can be, so stop throwing away things. There's a long list of things that you should be keeping and you should be keeping at hand. So what I'm trying to motivate is don't not keep record of the things that you spend your money on. So what are the different budgeting strategies? Okay, a budget composes of 3 things. Without looking at the slide, I think all of you have already jumped on that. What is the things that are in a budget? What are the legs that a budget stands on? Correct. Those are the 2 sides, income and expenditure. But there's an extra component. There's savings. I call that the most important part of the budget, because there should be something that you're putting away and making sure that if this sum, this income versus expenditures doesn't work out, that you've got something to fall back on. So you should not just be looking at it as sum that's balancing out and you'll always be earning more income. Just like Mariette said, pay yourself a salary. I say pay your savings, not yourself. There should always be a component of your money going towards an emergency fund or a savings product or something like that. Otherwise, it's not a budget. It's just the balancing act. You need savings as part of a budget plan. Your budget is once again the first point to start. So it feeds into your debt and credit strategies. If you don't have a budget, you can't pay off your debt, you can't take on any more debt. So for those of you that might think that I've got this debt and there's no way to come out of it, we've looked at a lot of people's books. The best way to get to a place where you can understand it is through a budget. To understand what's coming in, what's going out, what should be coming in, how much debt I can take on, and the only way that you can do that, once again, reinforced is through a budget. Now we'll be looking at the first step of the first arm of a budget. What is income? The purpose of an income strategy is to create multiple streams of income for yourself to supplement your regular or fixed income. So for those of you, you'd be earning commission. That would be your main source of income. It would be the way that you would be looking at how to increase your income, would be looking at that. There's 3 ways that you can start looking at your income in a different way. You sitting there as you are, do you have any other skills? Do you have any other talents? So we'll first look at skills-based strategies. So you guys are agents, you meet with people on a daily basis. I've got clients that sell supplements as an additional way. It would be something that you're in any case seeing the client, and that's a way how you can use your sales techniques to increase your income and not just look at what your primary source is. Warren Buffett, the world's most famous investor, says it's the most important thing is to have at least 2 different types of income. So that if your plan, your pipeline is not working, that you've got something else to fall back on. The second way to look at your income is talent-based. We had a workshop last week in Uganda where the guy was a DJ. It's his passion, he loves music, so he bought into his passion, he bought himself an amp and a mixing deck, and on weekends he goes out and is a DJ. He also emceed our event, and that's how he increased his income. So don't just look at yourself as a retail agent. If you've got something that's your passions, that's something that you do additionally, you should be looking at how you can monetize that to increase your income. And then small business based. I've just spoken about the skills and talents that you have additionally. We've got a lovely story of a lady that we ran the workshops with 2 years ago. She started selling cakes to the company internally, and she's now got a franchise going of baking cakes for functions for a lot of people. So she developed those skills and talent-based strategies into an additional business, into something that she could be looking at to increase the way that she's earning money and making sure that she doesn't say, I don't have enough. So you can look at your budget not just from a frugal point of view, from a way of taking away, but from a way how to make the income a little bit more. Spending strategies. The purpose of a spending strategy is to spend less than you make, including what you spend each month and what you owe to debt. So on the spending side, remember that debt is part of your expenses. So the more debt you have, you're increasing your expenses. So if the sum doesn't work out, you should not be borrowing to make that sum work. I would rather go first and look at how I can increase my income side before taking on debt, because keeping that debt cycle to keep the act balanced doesn't work out well in the long run. Can someone tell me what fixed expenses are? So a lot of people are excellent with that. They look at their fixed expenses every month because they know it's going off. So that's the things that mostly you have a debit order signed or whatever the case might be. A lot of people have looked at those expenses really well, and that's something that a lot of people do budget for. But then there's the other part of it. What is a variable expense? Something that changes, that you don't think about, that you forget about. That's something that a lot of people don't take into account. And then the third component is irregular expenses. It's something that's essential, that doesn't only fluctuate, but you have to pay. That would be something like school fees that get paid quarterly. A lot of people forget that it isn't a deduction that happens automatically. So what we've done is, as you'll see in the next slide, is some things that people forget about. So just an extra incentive to look at the expense side of your budget. You can take a lot of stress. So if you forget Valentine's Day, guys, you'll know you and your wife is going to have a big fight. You and your girlfriend might not be sitting well together. It's the expense that you have to take into account. A lot of people go into debt to spend on things that they should not be doing, and if you have a budget, you should be looking at all of these types of things at the different times of the year. A lot of people at Christmas time spend a lot of money on gifts. It's something that you start planning for in January. It should not be something that you're borrowing for. It's something that you should know, I'm putting away in that savings account, the third leg of a budget that no one ever tells you. It's part of your savings because it's an essential expense. Well, if it is an essential expense for you. So if you want to buy your children gifts, it's something you start planning for in January. It's not something that, okay, I need a bonus for, or I'm going to sell that extra property. It's something that you have to keep in mind. And there's, for each month in a year, there is variable or irregular expenses that you have to be taking into account. So that's, like I said, a budget doesn't make sense if there isn't an emergency fund as part of your budget. So just some of the different things that fall within the different categories. So how can I make my expenses less? Okay, I'll give you an example. I do this regularly. So I like music a lot, and I like buying different apps to get my life done. I like tech stuff. So you would think that something like Apple Music, which I enjoy quite a lot, it's something that I can't go without. I have to spend my money on that. But by changing my subscription from a monthly subscription, which looks like 80 bucks, and changing it to a yearly once-off payment, because I made the plan of knowing that it's part of my budget, I save 500 bucks a year. Doesn't seem like a lot, but if you start thinking about all your subscriptions and going for, I pay you once a year the full bulk fees, then it becomes cheaper. Then everything starts adding up. When I did this with just my basic subscriptions, I was starting to save 14,000 Rand a year. Just by looking at my different subscriptions in a way that I can make it more affordable for myself. So there's a lot of things. As we go through the program, we'll be sending you 50 money tips like that you should be looking at and should be considering in terms of your finances. So it might be a need, it might be something that you have to spend money on. I used music, it wasn't a need, it was a want, but there's a need that you could be doing more effectively. I could use a different example. Cleaning material, if you buy it in bulk, you know that you're going to use handy to clean your house. Instead of buying the one bottle that's easy at the convenience store, you go to Macro every couple of months and you buy the 10-litre can. You'll see in the long run that it saves you money. And that means that you need a budget, you need something to plan to be able to afford those once-off bigger cash payments. The lunch calculator. You'll see as part of your financial plan, we've created a little tool called the Disposable Income Creator. By using small little sacrifices, I'll show you, if you gave us that money and we put it into a unit trust, low risk, with a guaranteed return of 10%, so it's guaranteed investment, you can see if you make a small sacrifice, like instead of buying a takeaway coffee, for instance, rather drinking the coffee at work or drinking the coffee at home, that a small sacrifice can mean a hell of a lot in the long run. So go and complete that. We've got options for you, whatever you might be sacrificing on. So once again, I motivate you, go back to the tool to see if you make on your day-to-day expenses a small sacrifice, what a big difference that could be making. Any one percentage related to what you get in. It will be something that you can calculate for yourself, and you don't have to share what you make with everyone else. So things that should be in your budget. Your income is combined with your spouse's income. It's something that you should be taking into account, because we know that all relationships don't necessarily work out. And having to keep track of your budget means that it gives you an idea to remove the things that a lot of people fight about. So keeping in mind that someone might be buying the groceries while someone else is paying the mortgage, the expenses look the same. And we've had a lot of cases where that's the case, so it's important to start doing these things together. Seeing your income as one, looking at it on a paper-based strategy so that no one can get mad at each other in terms of finances. Add all your additional streams of income. A lot of people forget, I've got the investment, that's income, generates income on the side. Like I said, I bake cakes every now and then and someone pays me a couple of bucks in cash. I do a little bit of work on weekends. Remember to look at everything that comes in and make sure that it's part of the budget that you complete. Your expenses. Are you sure you've looked at everything? So collect those papers, keep in mind the paper trail, make sure that everything is taken into account. The insurance product that you got sold over the phone, look at your bank statement, look at every debit order that comes off. Is it essential? Am I going to use it? Am I paying it? Please remember to include literally everything that you spend money on. Have you set proper limits? The great thing about our digital society is you can limit the amount that you spend. The bank account that I said that you're spending so much on, use the facilities that they have. Limit yourself in terms of how much cash you can withdraw. Limit yourself on cards. You can block cards on different times at the month. So if you know you're the person that if I've got the credit card, I'm going to use it. Don't take up the credit. Why? Why do you need the personal banker or the gold account or whatever the case might be? You pay money for that. I've got a billionaire client. I one day caught him at Tiger Wheel and Tire fighting with the guys for his old tires because he wants to resell them and reuse them. And he loves to tell the story that he laughs at Sars. Sars never audits him because he kept the mega savings account that he had with Volkskas when he was a little boy, and he keeps that card. He never upgrades his account, he never does whatever the case might be. He doesn't need the flash, he says it's not important. So if a guy that can make billions, it's not important, then it's not about status. Real status is about achieving your financial goals, being frugal. They did a study last year in the States where they listed the one common denominator between millionaires. Do you know what it is? The one thing that all of them have in common. Yes, there is skill and there's taking chances and whatever the case might be, but the one common denominator that they could find.
Financial plan.
Financial plan. It's the one thing. It's about being... Say again?
And they work on a case basis, so they're the three taxes.
Exactly. It's a very important part to make sure that you understand your finances. You'll never find people that are really doing financially well. Not the guy that's driving the fancy car and staying in the big house, but he can't actually, it's the bank's car and it's the bank's house. The guy that's actually the millionaire, that owns the property, that it's his assets, that it is his, is good financial planning. So financial planning is the step to becoming a millionaire. It's not necessarily just the income that you generate. Yes, it's an important part, we can't take that away, but good financial planning is the first step towards that millionaire goal. Savings. Are you saving enough? You'll see, as part of the financial plan that we include, there's a retirement calculator. The first amount on the line on the last pages where you'll see the summary of your financial position, that calculation that we do for you is the amount that you should be putting away if you want to retire comfortably. And a lot of people don't consider that. Once again, how do you get from here to there? So here, you've got a salary, you've got savings, you've got income, you've got everything. Remember, there's nothing. What are you going to do then? So a lot of people say, yeah, but I can't afford it now. If you can't afford it now, you won't be able to afford it then. There's no income. There's nothing. So what are you going to do? Are you going to rob a bank? I've got bad news for you. I heard the present accommodation isn't that great. So you'll have to adjust your lifestyle if you're not starting to make sure that you're in a position to be able to retire. South Africa has got no support from government side. So the honest answer is only 7% of South Africans are in a position to retire. 7%. I had a client the other day that I'm motivating to walk a journey with, to be able to be in a position to retire. And we were going through sessions for 5 years, and at the end of the day, one of my older colleagues took a can of dog food and put it in front of him and said, because he was hearing how I was struggling, motivating this guy, you need to be putting away. And he said, that's what you're going to eat if you're not making a plan to make sure that your retirement income is enough. And the only way that you can do it is by calculating it, being frugal with your finances, planning and making sure that you are in a position. No one else is going to take responsibility for you. For those of you that think your kids are your investment plan, I've got bad news. They are in more debt than you are. That's what the stat says. And they'll take on more debt as they get older to be able to be in the same position that you are. It's what the numbers tell you. So once again, savings, fundamental part. Look at your budget. Make sure that every little bit of income you have over is going towards a retirement or a savings plan. Debt, the one thing that everyone wants to fall back on. It's expensive to borrow money. It takes away from everything that you're doing. I have to tell you that look at your budget. Go and do your budget. And the first thing, it's the only thing that you take away from, is get away from debt. Because that's the one thing that will be standing in your way to be able to retire. All of the other things that we're discussing, it's the one wall that will always be there, getting away, because you're always going to be paying off that money, and it's not money that's growing, it's not money that's going anywhere. So the only thing that you should be spending money on in terms of debt is on good debt. That we'll discuss in the next workshop. But look at what you're paying to debt, consolidate that, so that if we are in the next workshop, you know exactly what your debt looks like and how you could be getting away from that number. Okay, doing your budget. Once again, motivate you to go to the link, complete it. It's the first step towards that. As the process goes on, we'll go into a more detailed budget. This is a very high level one, but it gives you an indicator. Remember that the link is case sensitive. I'll ask Mariette and them to share the link on your communication channels so that all of you can use it. So those of your colleagues that aren't there, forward it to them, tell them to do it, because it's at least the starting point in terms of where you are at financially. And once again, it comes with no obligations. It's a free financial plan. You don't have to talk to anyone about it. You don't have to talk to me about it. But if you've got questions, you're welcome to ask, and I'll promise not to sell you a product unless you want one. Saving methods. Once again, reinforce going back to the plan. I'll show you that if you invested that money that you were saving, what could have happened. So this person gave up drinks weekly. So they stopped spending, how much did they spend on drinks? They spend $5,000 on drinks, so they're quite excessive drinkers. Once again, you can complete that for yourself. So they spend 5,000 Rand a week. So if they took that 5,000 Rand that they spend a week on drinks and put it into a very basic investment account with low cost, they would be looking at, I think it's 16 million Rand in an investment account in 40 years' time. Is how much would you pay yourself to become a millionaire? What would you give up? And that's exactly that. What would you sacrifice? You become a millionaire by making small sacrifices. Giving up smoking. Maybe not smoking every day. Maybe not drinking every day. Maybe not buying that takeaway coffee. By making those small sacrifices, you could become a millionaire. Like I said, the common denominator between millionaires is frugal financial planning. Don't spend money on anything that you don't need to be spending money on. Okay, so you should not be borrowing money to save money. That's true. But the honest answer is, if you're honest with your budget and you look at the different strategies of consolidating that, we will create enough income so that you keep your credit records safe, but you also save that amount. And that comes down to being honest with your budget. That comes down to the discussion of what's a want and a need. If you are in debt, I'm going to be very hard on you. That's the honest answer. Then you'll be down to basic essentials. Because we're first going to have to make sure that we get you out of debt. Because that is 20% of your income that you're giving to whoever you borrowed the money from for no apparent reason. One of the people that we partner with, King Price, just down the road, you guys will see, their CEO plays this video to all his staff, and then if someone comes with a problem to him, he gives them one line: toughen up, cupcake. And that's the context. You've got the tools, you've got the budget, it's your finances, it's your cash. The dreams that you want, learn to surf. You can make it happen. Thanks, guys.